The highly anticipated finale of Breaking Bad Season 4 is finally here, and it's the most exciting episode of the entire series. Although Gus has always been meticulous, he ultimately couldn't outsmart Walter. Let's watch together to see how Walter triumphs over Gus. Picking up from the previous episode, Walter successfully lures Gus to the hospital, but his plan to blow up Gus fails. After a caught Hector as Gus leaves, Walter hurriedly retrieves the bomb he had planted under the car. Walter then goes to the hospital to confront Jesse, demanding to know what exactly he had told Gus. Suspecting that Gus had caught onto their AC Hectorns, Jesse insists he didn't give anything away and even scolds Walter for bringing a bomb into the hospital. Walter asks Jesse to think carefully about other places where Gus might appear, excluding Gus's own territory since those places are heavily monitored and it's impossible to make a move. Before they can come up with a plan, Jesse is taken away by the police. It turns out that Jesse had told Andrea that Brock was poisoned with ricin, which is extremely rare and highly toxic. The doctor believes that Brock's poisoning might be related to Jesse and calls the police, leading to Jesse's arrest. Under police interrogation, Jesse explains that he exaggerated because he was overly concerned about the child's safety. He claims his knowledge of ricin comes from watching too many movies, where he subconsciously learned about it. The police find out Jesse has a criminal record, but they have no evidence linking him to Brock's poisoning. Jesse wants to leave because Walter desperately needs his help, but the police have no intent of letting him go.
Saul Goodman, that's my guy. So do I gotta call him, or do you?
The scene changes and Saul's phone rings, but Saul has gone out to hide, leaving his secretary, Francesca, to destroy the informer Hectorn. When she hears a knock on the door, Francesca ignores it. A loud bang startles Francesca, and she quickly grabs her pepper spray for Protect Hectorn. When she saw it was Walter, she let her guard down.
I need Saul. I need him right now.
So you break into the place. You just break in.
I see
Jesus.
you're here, by the way. If you'd have bothered to answer the phone or the door, maybe I wouldn't have... Forget it.
With Jesse in police custody, Saul is the only one who can help. Walter asks Francesca where Saul has gone. Francesca says that Walter and Jesse have caused a huge mess, and Saul fled to avoid getting implicated, leaving her without a job. Francesca hates Walter so much that she thinks she's going to get off work in a few minutes, but now it looks like she won't be able to leave. Seeing this, Walter offers Francesca some money, wanting to know Saul's new phone number.
Hey, look, there's got to be at least $1,700 there, okay? That'll more than cover the cost of the door now. I apologize profusely. Please, the phone number.
I bet it does. I bet you it winds up costing $20,000.
Sensing an opportunity, Francesca demands an addihectornal $5,000.
Now I'm thinking 25.
I'll be right back.
Anxious and remembering the cash stashed in his basement, Walter drives home to get the money. He doesn't drive straight to the house, fearing Gus's men might be watching. Thinking quickly, Walter calls his neighbor, pretending his family is away on a trip and asking her to check if the gas is turned off in his house. Walter uses binoculars and indeed sees two suspicious individuals. After confirming they have left, Walter quickly goes to the basement to get the money, but the two men soon return. With no other choice, Walter has to crawl out through the ventilahectorn shaft. Meanwhile, Jesse is still being interrogated by the police. Since he won't confess, they have to wait for Brock's test results to make a decision. At this moment, Walter manages to get Saul to come over.
Make like you got manners. Make like you respect the rule of law. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Hasta luego. Get the hell out. Bye-bye.
Saul advises Jesse to stay put for now, as it is relatively safe here. After a conversa-hectorn with Jesse, Saul gathers some clues and relays them to Walter. Jesse mentions Hectorns that he recently returned from a revenge trip to Mexico with Gus. Their first stop was a nursing home to visit Hector. Walter and Jesse know Hector well, as they spent some time with him when Tuco kidnapped them. Jesse noticed the deep hatred between Gus and Hector. Jesse saw Gus gloating after killing Hector's entire family, so he curiously asked about it. Gus vaguely tells Jesse that his friend was killed by Hector. Neither Jesse nor Saul realized the importance of this clue, but Walter, driven by his strong will to survive, didn't miss it. They say the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but in this case, their relahectornship is clearly that the enemy's enemy is still the enemy. Walter goes to the nursing home where Hector resides and Hector is furious to see his nemesis.
I know you despise me. And I know how badly you want to see me dead, but I'm willing to bet that I know a man whom you hate even more. I am offering you an opportunity for revenge.
The scene shifts to Hector ringing his bell to call the nurse. After a difficult exchange, Hector indicates that he wants to make a deal with the DEA. It's clear that Walter has convinced Hector. With the deal arranged, Walter hides outside the nursing home, waiting for the right moment. Notice that Walter has rented a white car, clearly worried about being spotted by Gus's men. With just a single shot, the show conveys the entire situation, full of meticulous details. That's when Walter Jr. calls to urge him to come back and hide. This naturally transi-Hectorns the scene to Hank's house. Walter Jr. is very worried about Walter, and Marie also urges him to come back quickly. Only Skylar doesn't urge Walter to come back because she knows he won't return.
Marie, he'll get here when he gets here.
I hope you just have a banner day over there. Okay, Walt? Don't worry about a thing here. Goodbye.
Meanwhile, Hank is still analyzing the photos Steven took at Gus's laundry. Just as Hank discovers something, Steven arrives. Seeing Hank still looking at those boring photos, Steven becomes a bit impatient. Hank notices that the load on the laundry's electrical panel doesn't match the equipment's power consumption. He asks Steven to check again, but Steven then Hectorns that a new witness has arrived at the SDA Hectorn and specifically requested to speak with Hank. Marie thinks it's a trap and insists Hank shouldn't go, not even to the DEA. Yet in the next moment, Hank is at the DEA office, just when everyone thinks Hector will provide important informa Hectorn. He instead starts cursing at Hank, because Hank killed his nephew Tuco. This is another form of revenge before his death. Before leaving, Hector playfully winks at Hank.
Well, at least this time he didn't shit himself. Guess that's progress.
As soon as Hector leaves the DEA office, Tyrus, who has been secretly monitoring him, reports the incident to Gus. This was precisely what Walter and Hector had planned, intending to lure Gus out. As soon as Hector returns to the nursing home, Walter, hiding in the bathroom, steps out.
Any second thoughts? Then let's get to work.
Tyrus quickly arrives as well because Hector, who never deals with the DEA, showing up there means Gus must eliminate this threat immediately. He instructs Tyrus to ensure Hector's room is secure before taking AC Hectorn. Walter, unable to leave in time, has to hide near the air-conditioned Hectorning unit. Meanwhile, the police receive Brock's test results, proving it wasn't ricin poisoning, and Jesse is released. As Jesse walks out, he brushes past a police officer. Jesse immediately contacts Andrea and plans to visit Brock at the hospital, but before he can get a taxi, Gus's men forcibly take him away. At this moment, 2 more officers appear. This also shows how desperate Gus is to get Jesse back to work, resorting to force despite the police presence all over the streets.
We just picked up Pinkman.
What about Hector?
I've checked inside and out. No wires, no camera.
All right. I'm on my way.
Maybe it's better if I do this myself.
I do this.
Gus doesn't let his men handle Hector. He wants to kill him personally to avenge Max's death. Hatred has blinded him, playing right into Walter and Hector's plan. Despite Gus's taunts, Hector remains unmoved. As Gus is about to act, Hector, who has never looked him in the eye, suddenly does, making Gus feel something is wrong. At this moment, Hector suddenly starts ringing his bell frantically, signaling to Walter. Gus, who thought he had everything under control, never realized his revenge plan was just part of someone else's. Walter becomes the ultimate winner. Soon, Walter, hiding in the parking lot, hears on the radio about the nursing home explosion that killed 3 people. The weight lifts from his shoulders, and a rare look of relief crosses his face. Meanwhile, Jesse, taken by Gus's men, is watched closely as he works like a slave. At that moment, the doorbell rings. In order to prevent Jesse from escaping, the man even thoughtfully provided him with handcuffs.
What, you got a problem with stairs?
Hearing gunshots, Jesse instinctively hides, but to his shock, it's Walter who has returned.
Gus is dead. We've got work to do.
Walter and Jesse then open all the flammable and explosive liquids, set a timed fuse, and carefully wipe their fingerprints as they leave. They trigger the alarm, urging all workers to evacuate. A raging fire ensues, destroying Gus's super lab. Afterwards, Jesse learns about Andrea's son's candy Hector, and the doctor says it wasn't ricin that hit Brock. Walter, showing concern, asks what the actual cause was. Jesse explains it was a toxin called Lily of the Valley, believing Brock ingested it by accident. This clears Gus of poisoning Brock. It's only now that we realize the significance of the shot where Walter's gun pointed at the flower. Everything was meticulously planned by Walter for his survival. He knew children were Jesse's weakness, and harming a child was the only way to get Jesse to join his plan. Despite numerous twists, Walter's plan ultimately succeeded. Walter's convincing performance when he met Jesse is truly impressive. He deceived not only Jesse but also many viewers. Watching those scenes now, knowing the truth, gives them an entirely different feel. Meanwhile, Hank's house is filled with people watching the news about the explosion in town. Skylar, looking worried, receives a call from Walter.
No, let me get somewhere where I can hear you. Tell him go ahead and go giant. Walt?
How are you doing? I'm doing quite well.
Gus Fring is dead. He was blown up along with some person from some Mexican cartel, and the DEA has no idea what to make of it. Do you know about this? I need you to...
It's over. We're safe.
Was this you?
I won.
Hearing the relaxed tone of Walter's voice, in stark contrast to his previous nervous demeanor, and considering the recent news, it's obvious even to a fool that Walter was behind it. Walter has not only become more evil but also increasingly arrogant. I can't help but think, if his acting skills are so good, why can't he continue acting in front of his wife? Finally, the director cuts to the Lily of the Valley by Walter's pool, tying back to the earlier shot, confirming that Walter was the one who poisoned Brock. Next up is the final season of the series, which is also the highest rated. If you like the show, like and follow it so you don't miss out on the AC Hector.